Did you say you need a minute?
Yes, it's recording. I'm fine.
You're good now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody. We will begin the April 6th Town Council Informational work session. Let the record read that the entire council and mayor are present. We'll begin with a pledge of allegiance. I know a few of you have a flag. I've got one right here. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. First item is the Public Works Bobcat skid steer loader. I think, Jay, you're going to take this one?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so basically we have a Bobcat that's 11 years old. We had it before our garage even had potable water. We were on well water. We've worked on it quite a bit. It's rusted to the point of no return. So I've shopped around between Case, John Deere, and a few other places, and I want to trade it in on a new Bobcat loader, which is in the budget. Currently budgeted at $55,000, and with the trade-in, we can get a new one for $43,544.34. And at the council meeting, I'll have the other quotes and the other documents to follow up. I just wanted to put that in front of the council for the work session.
Okay. This sounds like an easy one. So does the council have any questions? I'll start with Valerie if anybody has any questions. If not, we'll...
No, I don't have any questions. This paragraph works quite well in explaining it. It was sent through email.
Anybody else have any questions?
No.
Hearing none, then thank you, Jay.
Sure. Thank you.
We'll go to the audit RFP. Dale?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Let me just hit a couple of the highlights from my memo. Since we had completed our contract with our previous auditor, we recently put out an RFP to include the current fiscal year as well as the next 3 years. We had requested pricing for audited financials as well as single audit pricing. We put it on eMaryland Marketplace, went out to 65 vendors. We had 5 attend a pre-bid meeting, and we had 5 responses to the bid. The bid breakdown can be found on the second page of my memo. It's our recommendation that Town Council awards the contract to Barbicane Thornton. They were the lowest bid provider, as well as they only do audits for government and nonprofit organizations. We believe their schedule and communication plan would work well with the town. And just one final comment. I was able to reach out to a couple of their references, and they had very positive remarks about this auditor. So I will turn it back to Mr. Mayor for any questions or comments.
Okay, I'll start with Derek. Any questions, sir?
No comments from me.
Keith?
Yes, one question. How often do we have to have a single audit?
Keith, the requirement is if we receive federal funding for $750,000 or more, we have to have a single audit. So it may not even happen in the next 4 years, but we wanted to get pricing just in case it does.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Greg?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Larry?
Just a quick comment. It would be wonderful if we needed a single audit, given that we got $750,000 in federal funding. One question I had to ask is if we had checked the references. You've already clarified that. And then the second was just remind me, who was the current auditor?
Rubino and Company.
And they didn't even submit.
And we had them for the last 4 years.
But they did not submit.
They did not submit, correct.
Thank you.
Charlie?
No, Larry stole my joke.
Valerie?
No comment. This is fine, I
Okay.
read through it.
Okey doke. Next item is rental inspection RFP. Holly, you're gonna take this one?
Yes. So the town went out to bid for our rental inspection services. We placed this on eMaryland Marketplace as well. It went out to 34 bidders on eMaryland Marketplace, and we also sent it directly to 5 different firms within the area that do rental inspections or home inspection services. We held a mandatory pre-bid meeting and issued clarifications after that pre-bid meeting was held. The results were that we actually only received one sealed bid proposal into Town Hall. We do believe that is because of the COVID-19 issues that we're having right now. However, we did receive the sealed package from American Property Consultants, which we felt was in line with what we are asking for these services. And they have an excellent background in terms of inspections for Calvert County Housing Authority. So Connie did some work contacting each for some recommendations, so she can speak to that specifically. But the cost of $199.95 for each inspection will be covered by the entity with seeking information. In our general fund budget, within our schedule of fees, we have a cost of $250 per rental application. So that
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Holly. It's kind of.
Yeah, I am too. I hate to say that.
Oh.
You're breaking up a little bit, Holly.
You know what? Let me dial in from a home phone then.
Okay.
Okay? Okay.
All right. Boy.
Can you hear me now?
Very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better. You know, I actually conferenced Jay into the call, and so that might have been causing the interference, and now I've lost him. So, let's see. We will. Should I just start over and try to make it brief?
Sure.
Okay. So we went out for a bid for rental inspection services, and this went out on eMaryland Marketplace to 34 bidders, as well as directly to 5 different firms within the local area. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So we received one sealed bid package, and we do believe that is because of the COVID-19 concerns with the town closure. But we did receive a package from American Property Consultants, which we felt was right in line with the services that we're requesting for the town. The $199.95 will be covered by the applicant. There's going to be a $250 fee that is attached to our schedule of fees with the general fund budget that is going to cover the cost of this inspection. So the services rendered are going to be that Town Hall is going to actually schedule the inspection with the customer within Chesapeake Beach. The inspection will take place by American Property Consultants, and they will supply the report as well that Connie needs in order to issue the rental licensure. This particular vendor has great experience in the area and actually is currently working for the Housing Authority of Calvert County. So we felt that that would be a nice alignment of services as well. Connie spent some time seeking references. So if there's specific questions related to that, I'm sure she can fill you in.
Okay, I'll start with Valerie. Any questions?
Yes, I have 2. The first one, what is the terms of the contract? Meaning, how long is the contract? Do you have 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? How long is the contract?
It gave us an option to renew I will have to just double check and confirm, but I believe it's a 2-year contract with a 1-year renew option.
Okay. As long as, yeah, just open-ended contracts aren't cool, so I just wanted to make sure they had a firm end date.
Yes.
And how many rental properties have we identified in town, and how many of those are participating in this project or this program?
I had a little hard time hearing you, but what I did hear is how many we have in town.
How many rental properties have in town, and how many have gone on the website to participate in this?
We have, the last I looked at the sheet, we did complete a form where we're requesting everyone to self-report if they're a rental property, and we had close to 100 properties. We expected within the first year we would likely go through at least 200 to 250 rental properties for inspection purposes.
Okay.
And so if a property does not make itself known, are we taking steps to identify them ourselves and then if they're renters to have them participate?
Yes, we do have some information in our utility billing software that Connie interacts with daily. So Connie has a good pulse in terms of how many properties are rental properties now. And so yes, our new code implementation is going to allow us to take action if we do find out that they were not self-reported.
Thank you. That was all my questions.
Charlie?
I just want to express a little, I mean, it sounds like all these numbers and everything's in line. I just want to express a little concern, and Holly, you can just ignore this. I respect that. Because we got so few bids, and you think partly that's because of, the craziness we're in. Would it make sense to reduce the term of this contract and revisit it a year later when hopefully we're not under those restrictions and we might get better bids? Or do you think that's an unfounded concern and a waste of time?
I think we could consider that. I think that American Property Consultants is a very well-known professional company that I believe is right in line with what we're looking for, but I don't see any harm in rebidding it in a year.
Okay, that's all.
Larry?
I would like to see us do that, but that's all I have.
Okay.
Larry?
Yes. Larry, quick question. Item 3, what does it mean by lump sum price per no access?
So that is if we have scheduled for the inspection to take place, however, there's no access. Maybe there's a dangerous dog that's not contained, or the tenant is not there. So just to cover their costs of coming on site and there not being an access.
Okay, so if they show up and can't gain entrance into the unit, they'll charge us $79.
Right.
Presumably that would have been scheduled with the owner ahead of time, so are we able to recoup that from the owner since they obviously screwed up something?
We would have to add a penalty for not having access to the owner for doing that.
Yeah. Might be a good idea to do that just so they don't, mess around with us too much.
Good point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Greg?
Yeah, can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm doing my phone. Larry asked one of my questions. I was wondering, fundamentally, when do we need to have a vendor in place for this service?
We have our software that Connie's been working through to get it set up so that we can accept the applications and start rolling this program out. So I would say that we definitely want to have someone in place just to start with July 1 to start on the ground doing these inspections.
Yeah, I concur with some of the other trepidation regarding only receiving the one bid. However, if the town's comfortable with the reputation of American Property Consultants, I would be okay moving forward with it. I'm not sure if we're really looking at a cost savings necessarily, because I don't think the costs are encumbered by the town, except for the admin costs, maybe. So really, the main thing I think I would be looking for would be town hall. Your comfortability with the vendor itself, and their reputation. And it sounds like you are.
Yes.
Yeah. One other question. Self-reporting. I know we're transitioning for a while with this. This is just for apartment buildings and things like that. It applies to anybody that's renting or subletting portion of their property, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I don't have any other questions at this time.
Okay, Keith? Did we lose Keith?
Sorry about that. Had the mute on. So I have no additional questions at this time. The questions I had have been asked and answered.
Okay, Derek?
Yeah, just quickly, so the initial application is a one-time fee. And I don't recall from the schedule of fees, but the reinspection fee, is that tied to having to come out to the property a second time, or is that an annual reinspection? And is that provided by the property owner as well? Is that fee covered by them or the town?
So the application fee, there's a renewal application fee that would have to be submitted to the town with each renewal to renew the licensure. The reinspection fee would be if the inspector needs to come on site because there are issues that need to be corrected. So that's their fee to come back and ensure that the items are corrected.
Okay, yeah, and then picking back up on what Larry said, I think we should review the schedule of fees to ensure that they're aligned, because it appears that perhaps the town may actually lose money, if you will, on an applicant that either needs multiple re-inspections or has trouble being scheduled. It seems like that may not be covered. So I would just encourage that whether it's this bidder or another one, rebid, we should ensure that the schedule of fees aligns with the pricing.
Okay, thank you, sir. Moving on, Calvert.
Mr. Mayor, could I one quick redirect?
Go, yeah, who is this?
This is Greg.
Okay, I was having trouble hearing you. Go ahead, Greg.
I apologize. Again, per what Derek said, these are the cost of those individuals who are renting those properties. This is a cost of business for them. And besides the admin costs of scheduling and some things like that, these fees really, we shouldn't, if they got to go out 3 times because they can't get it right, all of that cost really should be on the renter. None of it really should be on the town. It's my opinion. Thanks.
I don't think renter, I think owner.
Was that Larry?
Yes, it was. I was saying I don't think it should be on the renter. It should be on the owner.
On the landlord. Yeah, that was my thought.
Yeah.
Anyhow, okay. The Calvert County MOU Highland Sort Connection. Holly, you want to give us an overview on this?
Yes. So the town has been working with Calvert County in regards to connections that are needed within the Highlands community. So there's approximately 233 lots in the Highlands that need to be connected to the Chesapeake Beach Water Reclamation Treatment Plant. About 193 of those lots are located within the county's division, and 40 of the lots are located within the municipal line. So the Board of Directors of the Highlands HOA has reached out to the Calvert County government and requested a special tax district. And in doing that special tax district, the county is charging a fee to each resident that lives in the Highlands, and that fee is going to be basically the entire cost of the project to establish the connection, so building out all the infrastructure, the engineering costs. There's an admin cost that's associated to cover the county's time on the project. And I believe there will also be an interest cost for the residents to cover funding the project for the amount of time that they will need it. My understanding is that the amortization on it will be anywhere between 20 and 30 years long, so the residents can pay this back. And the county actually approached the town in terms of the 40 connections that are town residents. So there is a difference in the capital connection rate for town connections versus the county. So the value of these 40 connections within the town's limit is about $720,000 based on our current capital connection rate for sewer. So I've put before a couple scenarios for the town council to consider. The county has sent over a draft MOU for the mayor to sign for review. Our town attorney is reviewing that as well. And I've included here the first option that they have come to the town with, provided that the town would pay the variable cost of the 40 connections within the town limit. There's some concern there because of the flow. Already we're having some issues with not being able to capture total flow, and the town is not billing for those costs. So those 40 residents are actually on county water, so it makes it very difficult for the town to go that route. So another option that I've put before town council, and we've initiated conversations with the county about this option, would be for the town to honor the county's capital connection sewer rate, and the county collect it, and then hopefully turn that back over to the town for the use of the capacity.
Right. And that's your recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. This will probably entail some discussion. I'll start with Derek.
All right, thank you for that. Yes, well, thank you for that summary. You answered a couple of my questions. It appeared that this was only sewer, but I was curious about the water. And so all 40 residents of town residents are on county water. There's no wells in there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so we're just talking sewer. So this will probably be echoed, I imagine, but I'm definitely not in favor of either of the options presented to us by the county. In fact, I'm strongly opposed to those. But I am in favor of a conversation where we do consider a special rate for them for the connection fee to match the county. I don't think it would be fair for the town residents to be charged more than what their neighbors across the ambiguous county line would be. So I am in favor of that discussion. So one other question I have in regards to the EDUs. So it appears that the county is asking for us to give 40 of our EDUs to the county. How many EDUs do we have available? It's in the hundreds, I believe, after the expansion.
Oh, it's, let's see, let me get to this sheet here. I have a summary, if you can.
Oh, is it there?
So I don't have this by taps, but I could calculate it for you. We're really looking at flow now, which is 190 gallons per day per connection. So we basically have about 63% of the existing capacity now. So the town has gallons per day, 437,000 gallons a day capacity. And John, do you want to maybe speak to how many taps that would be? I could divide it.
I think we have over 4,000 taps, and I don't have that sheet in front of me, but we have plenty of taps, I believe. After the
that sounds about right. That number 4,000, and I'll confirm with you, town council, so you have the exact number.
Okay, that's substantial then. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I don't really see much of a problem there, but I do have some concern that what's been presented to us is not in the town's best interests. I do support the residents receiving sewer through in our system, so I think that's a positive, and I hope the commissioners approve the petition. But as far as we're concerned, I'd be amenable to some negotiation to ensure that the town, I mean, we may not receive exactly what we would expect, for instance, at the Heritage, but I think we could probably find a middle ground. So I'm in favor of that, and I'll just go ahead and stop there for now.
Okay. Keith?
Yeah, thank you. So can you hear me now?
Very well.
All right, great. So I have a couple questions just so I have get a better understanding. For our water, that's metered, and for the sewer, how do we measure flow for the sewer for an individual home? Just remind me, please.
Sure. So it's really measured for an individual home mostly by the water use. So the county is tracking that through the water connection. So it would make it a little easier for them to determine the sewer usage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Jay, are you still there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's exactly how it's done, Holly. All of our sewer bills are calculated off of water usage.
Okay. So in theory, the county could provide us with their water usage information, right? For those 40 homes that they are currently providing water.
Technically, yes. I would assume, yes.
Right. Okay. I was just curious as to how all this is fitting together, so I have a better understanding. And then would you also tell me a little bit, explain the $720,000 again to offset infrastructure costs? So
the $720,000 is just calculated by our sewer capital connection fee, our current rate, by the total number of connections within the town.
The total number of connections within the town, or within?
Which would be 40.
Okay, within that Highlands neighborhood. Okay.
Yes, right.
Okay. Great. Thank you. And then there was also some information in here that it looks like the county will be applying for grants. There's no guarantee they will get it or how much that grant will be for. Is that correct, that currently they have no information on that?
That's correct.
Okay. And is it correct then to also assume that if they get a grant, the cost to those residents will be less by whatever that grant amount is? Is that how that would work?
That is how that should work. It should offset the infrastructure costs, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And so those were my questions. Yes, I'm currently not in favor of the proposals the county has put forward. So I would like to have a further discussion as well of alternatives, but I'd also like to just maybe explore that idea of why we can't get the water usage rates from the county as well, and how that would work or would not work. Anyway, that's all I have with my comments. Thank you.
Okay. Before I move to Greg, it's probably safe to say that nobody's going to agree with what the county offered. I think that's probably fair. So we probably need to focus more on what we want to do, because we're all going to be in unison opposing that. So, Greg.
All of the properties over at the Highlands, that like the county is supplying water to those properties?
Yes.
And
is that correct, Jay?
Yes, that is correct.
Jay, the county have meters at those properties?
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, they're the exact same as the town, except all of their sewer right now is going to septic and not public sewer.
Okay, so we'll be able to use our standard procedure in calculating the water sewer bill because they do have water meters there. It's just going to come through the county.
Just for clarification, I believe the county will be charging them water and sewer bills. The town will not.
Right.
Okay.
That's correct.
And the system impact fees for the town, the impact on the system, how is that addressed?
So we would capture to basically the county, if we transferred over that tap capacity, they would pay the variable rate on those extra connections. So they're going to pay by flow the variable percentage coming to the plant.
Okay, and you all are comfortable with that so far then, with that part of it?
Not entirely. We're still trying to dial that number in. The town has made great progress between Jay and John in terms of installing additional flow meters for the town side that will further dial that number in, but I think we're getting there. We're getting closer to feeling comfortable.
Okay, I don't have any other questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. Larry?
Just reiterate, I have concerns about the overall terms of the agreement. That said, a couple of specific questions. Under the project details, item 2 says if county takes on the project, county will bill for all water and sewer services for county residents and town residents. Nowhere do I see anything in there that says the town will then bill the county or the county will reimburse the town. Nothing in there. Where do we get our money from all this?
Well, we would so basically we would want to go back to them and say, the county is going to need to pay us the funds for the connections of the 40 taps within Chesapeake Beach, because based on their flow and the agreement, they have the capacity to connect the 90 some county residents within the Highlands. So we would capture our reimbursement based on the variable rate for the total connection coming into the plant, and then also between the 40 residents within Chesapeake Beach for the capital connection fees.
And the user fees. I mean, they've got water bills. They could show us what water usage was for all those community units in there, and then we've got to get some usage fees out of this.
I think the only place we would get usage is through the variable expense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. On another point, Holly had mentioned to you one time that it probably would be a good idea if someplace along the way there's a meter installed. And the question for Jay, do we have any idea whether there would need to be a pump station to serve this area? I know it's high up, so it might be able to flow by gravity, but do you know?
I do. So the county came to us with some different designs at first, even including town citizens by their own system going into our sewer system. But due to the topography and no right-of-ways and traversing private property, we all sat down and decided it's best to let them hook through the system that the county's building. And at some point, I brought up the fact I believe they'll need a pump station. They have to go, I think, get the special district before they can get final design, if I'm right, Holly. So they never have answered how they're physically going to do it yet. I have not seen the final plan.
That's right.
Okay.
They actually have not completed the engineering for any of this yet.
I understand that. It's just that if there is a pump station, which I expect there probably will be, there really needs to be a flow meter in there just for us to help track these flows that are going to be coming to us.
100% agree.
And then the last one, well, not the last one, but one of the most key questions I have is, within the Highlands, are all the lots currently developed?
That I do not know.
Yeah, I think there was maybe one I'll have to go back and double check, but I think there was maybe one or two that were not.
Okay, well, that would be okay. It's just, I in terms of future development, it'd be nice to know what might be occurring and which part, the county or the town part, might it be occurring in. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Valerie?
Did you skip me?
Oh, I'm sorry, Charlie. We'll go Charlie. We'll go Charlie.
I just have I'm sorry if everyone else understands this besides me, but the variable use fees, the reason we don't collect that is because the use is covered, the usage fees, I'm sorry. The usage fees are covered under the Calvert County interjurisdictional agreement. Is that, so these 40 Chesapeake Beach residents, their water bills would be paid to the county, and the county's covering that with that portion of their use of the water treatment plant? Do I have that right?
It would be their sewer bills are paid to the county, and so that use would come by flow to the plant, and it would increase their variable expense because they're going to be sending additional flow to the plant. So that's where we capture the use cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
That part of it does seem reasonable. So it's really the connection that it's really the capital cost of the connections that has to be worked out. That's what I'm understanding, right?
Right. Correct.
Okay. I wish I had some magical puzzle answer, but I certainly don't at this time. So thank you.
Thank you. And Valerie?
Yeah, some of my questions were already answered. Needless to say that I do not agree with either of the county's proposals that are here. I do have a question. How much over the 20 or 30 years is this going to cost the Chesapeake Beach Highland residents per home?
We don't have that number yet, but the initial estimates were several millions of dollars across these 233 lots. So it's going to be costly because the way that the county handles this is if it's within the town, you pay your capital connection fee, and that covers the cost of the infrastructure to bring the line to you or within a parameter of your lot, whereas the county charges you the access fee as well as charges you 100% of the infrastructure. So it is going to be very costly. We just don't know what that number is yet. But part of the special tax district process is that the county actually has to give them an estimate. So they're trying to get to that next step, and this is one thing they need to settle before they can go there.
And the Highlands Homeowners Association requested this, right?
They have requested this to mitigate concerns with private septic tanks.
And do you know if the 40 Chesapeake Beach homes, the 40 Chesapeake Beach residents, if they have any representation, or if anyone, do they know it's coming? I don't want them to be shocked.
Yeah, the answer to that is yes.
Yeah. It was 100% participation, is my understanding from the county, that approved from the community. It was either 100% or 99. I can find out for sure, but it was very close to 100.
Okay, I mean that's good to know. As we're thinking about what to do and how to do it with these, if it's metered, is there any benefit to the town? Because we could put the kind of meters out there that we have in Chesapeake Beach that allows us to monitor a lot from basically town hall or anywhere. Is there a reason why we have not offered, or I'm not suggesting it, but do we offer to do the billing for water and sewer and we collect the water portion, send that to county quarterly?
I had a hard time. I lost you.
Yeah. Are you? Did you call in on a landline, Valerie? Because you're.
It's my cell phone.
Yeah, you're kind of jumbling around there. Maybe. Well, I don't know if you have a better.
Let me try it again. Can you hear me?
I hear you now. Okay. All right.
Okay, great. My question is this. I mean, it's just throwing it out there as a conversation. Have we thought, since they're going to be getting meters and they already have meters, I know that we in Chesapeake Beach have spent a lot of time being able to look at this stuff online at Town Hall without even having to go to the meters at times. Have we thought about billing it, the 40 residents in the Highlands that are Chesapeake Beach residents, and then quarterly sending a check for the water portion to the county? In other words, doing the billing ourselves.
I think in order to do that, we would have to be the ones that would bring the line to those residents in order to be managing that process. And we did take a look at that, and just from an engineering perspective and a cost perspective, it's pretty cost prohibitive to bring infrastructure to just the 40 residents and do it in a way.
I totally understand that. But I'm saying once the infrastructure is put in, doing the billing cycle that way. Because we were talking about weren't we talking about the variable amount of flow?
Right.
And being able to measure that? Let's assume that they need a wet well. I'm just wondering if there's another way to approach this to kind of protect our 40 residents a little bit.
I don't think that would be a feasible option. Just logistically, if the county is providing them the sewer connection, and Jay, maybe you can speak to this further, but I don't see logistically how we can say we're going to monitor each individual connection with our meter, but yet we're not providing them water services. It would just be very
correct. I understand what Valerie's saying, but right now the county provides, that whole neighborhood is county water. It just happens, if you look at the map attached with the agenda, that little portion are town residents, but the infrastructure is coming through all the county roads. So they would own the sewer system that they're going to install. It would be hard for us to bill, without maintaining it, more or less installing it. I think they would have to bill for it since they're not only installing it but supplying the maintenance.
Okay, well,
I understand. I do have concerns about the capped connection fees and the MOU, so I look forward to seeing the next version, knowing that there's been such, I'll say, definitely no approval of this one, so look forward to seeing the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor? Do we have follow-up?
Yeah, so I plan to do that. Hold on. Give me we're all a couple of Mississippis behind here. I was just going to tell everybody what I plan to do. So before I go around the horn again, if you will, I'd like to focus on, moving forward, what we should do moving forward. So having said that, Holly, do you want to summarize from what you've heard to how you feel about us moving forward, what we
Sure.
should do? Or
So what I hear is town council is in agreement that there could be some concession made for the town residents within the Highlands to be consistent with their neighbors on the county line, and that the town council would consider honoring the county's capital connection rate at the time of establishment of the special tax district if those funds were transferred to the town in some fashion, and to reword or rework this agreement with the county to ensure that happens, is my understanding.
Okay, and starting with Derek, we'll go hear from the council again. So Derek.
Okay. Can we go to the spreadsheet? I think it's the next page or next few pages. So I know this is although it's not off track, but I know it's something we've discussed in a different forum, but I just want to understand these numbers a little better if I could. So the combination of the North Beach and the Calvert County flow, the actual flow, which is the third column of flow, that the sum of those currently is 368,000 gallons per day, which is actually more than Chesapeake Beach. Yet, when I go over to the capacity, I see it's only about half. And I know we've talked about this before. I don't remember the details off the top of my head, but I get the question I'm getting to is, if this project moves forward and those 233 homes come online with sewer and estimated at I think 44,000 gallons per day was the number in the report. Do we have a good idea of how these numbers change? Because I know, you know, when we bill on our billing and when we do the budgets, it's all based on percentages. So when the county capacity goes up, or the county use goes up, really, then our portion will, theory, go down. So, but how much is it going down as far as like the cost? Because, you know, we share these across our partners. So I'm just curious if we have, I don't think it's going to be a lot, but if we have an estimate of what the new sharing percentages would be if this project moved forward with what we know. And I guess to add another variable, including the Heritage that's coming online, the Richfield Station that's coming online, and any other projected capacity that the town would be bringing online. Do we have an idea of what those final numbers would look like?
So I did do a comparison of what would happen with the flow and the capacity with bringing the Highlands online. It's not here in this sheet, but I can provide that to you, and I will connect with Dale so that we can get a good cost estimate on what that change in Heritage and Richfield Station, what those changes would do to variable cost, just to give you an idea.
I'm just thinking for discussion, you know, and as we look moving forward, and it appears to me that this is going to be a negotiation. So we should understand, you know, what all the factors, you know, to consider when we're talking about, you know, revenue that we would be essentially giving up. You know, are we getting something else in kind that, you know, kind of lessens the blow of you know, reducing our capital connection fees in half, essentially, is what it would be. So I'd like to understand what those numbers, you know, would be just as we move forward. And then the other thing, I think, just for sake of discussion, this might be a dirty word, but has in any of these conversations, has the word annexation come up? And I mean either the town annexing the county residents or the county annexing the town 40 residents. Has any of that come up at all? And if so, you know, what's the conversation been? I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I'm just curious if it's actually come up.
I'll try to answer that. Actually, I think the word that came up was, you know, de-annex. You know, did I want to de-annex, you know, 40 homes from the town? And I was pretty, you know, clear that I did not want to do that. And it never came back up again. I think they expected that answer.
Well, I would think so as well, but I was curious if it was part of the discussion at all. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Keith.
Well, thank you for putting all this information together. This has been an interesting discussion. I don't have any other questions that I want to ask at this point. So thank you.
Well, you're right, Keith. I mean, as was mentioned before, you know, in terms of, this is a negotiation, and we didn't want to do anything until we heard from you all this evening. But Mr. Morris.
It sounds like there's some careful consideration. Just an observation. Similarly, while extending the possibility of extending a water sewer up Bayside, over in the Highlands, in order to have, it's my understanding, to have a sewer system, you have to have a sizable, a large enough piece of property for that. And when they connect to the sewer, it seems feasible that many of the properties would be eligible to subdivide at that point. Is that a consideration in that at all? And is that something that maybe you want to try to preclude an agreement? I'm just kind of putting it out there because there will be some homeowners that will start thinking, okay, well, now we're try to subdivide this and I'll sell the property and have another house built. Thanks.
Okay. Larry?
I guess as these discussions go forward, if there's anything I can do to help, I'd be happy to help out, sit in, whatever. We've had some other bigger discussions of reserve capacities, I call them, the fixed allocation and things, not only just to do with the Highlands, but just in general with our other users, the Anne Arundel, Calvert, Chesapeake Beach, North Beach, whomever. It might be time to just look at those allocations again. I understand it's been quite a while since those have been looked at. Maybe it's time to look at them now. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie?
I just want to clarify something that Keith said when he was talking about these numbers, and there's going to be a change in that the county percentage, for example, is going to go up. Our percentage is going to go down, assuming that we add, we bring more homes online into the system. But the net flow is going to go up proportionally, so there's still more money coming into the system to cover that. Is that correct?
More money coming in, but I would say it's substantial more cost associated with it also.
Right, like they should equal. It's a balance, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, we can negotiate that, but it doesn't really matter. What really matters is the capital connection cost. That's right. The key of the negotiation here. Do I understand that right?
That's correct,
okay.
Because
okay.
that is the capacity that the town has purchased and paid for solely.
Yep. Perfect. I understand that now. Thank you.
All righty. Valerie?
Actually, what Larry just said brought something to mind. This is the town capacity that we paid for. In some ways, they're still paying for through paying off bonds. So when we did the ENR upgrade, we paid for this. And so I think that ought to be a consideration in these negotiations, is that we're still paying off a lot of money to have increased that capacity for the town of Chesapeake Beach. And that's our debt alone. It's not a shared burden. And so I would have trepidation about any real sort of deal. I mean, how much are the capital connection fees that the county charges for a sewer capital connection? Because I already have a water. We charge $15,000. What do they charge? We actually charge 18.
We're at $18,000 now for sewer. The county, let me just get to that slot 1 second.
Yeah.
So their current rate would equal $216. Their current fee, and I need to remind myself what that was.
I think it was 5,400 something.
5,400 per sewer.
Yes.
Somewhere around there.
5,400.
Okay. And then they have a plan in place where they're planning to increase their fees as of fiscal year 21, I believe, to
8,000.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to bring that up, that whatever deal is made, it doesn't help the town of Chesapeake Beach pay off their bond and service their bonds that allowed us to get that capacity. And so that's a concern. And I just wanted to raise that.
Very good. So Holly, what's our next step then?
I think a consensus from the council in terms of what we want that rate to be. Do we want to honor the county rate, or do we want to ask for something different? And how do we want to approach this with the county? So if each council member can maybe send me an email or let me know their thoughts on that as we work through these edits with our town attorney, that would be great.
Well, okay, I'm sure they will. Thank you, Council. Next item, Dale, Water Park Fund budget.
All right, I will share my screen. Holly, I'm getting an error message. Can you allow me to share?
Yep.
All right. My share just went away, so let me figure out where it is. There it is. All right. My screen should be coming up in a second. Let me know if you see it. Holly, do I have access?
I made you the host.
Yeah, don't see you yet, Dale. I see your name come up, but nothing happens then.
All right.
There's the mayor. There's Keith.
Yeah, when I click on share screen, nothing's changing yet.
Strange. There's this little strange icon.
My screen is changing, but it's saying not responding.
Yeah, there's a little cloud icon with a red dot in the center for some reason. I'm not sure what.
Is it possible for us to just follow along? We have the documents. Would that move us forward?
I could share the file.
Holly, yeah, or I could email you the two files that I was going to share. Would that, if I send it to you via email?
I mean, I have it right here, Dale, so.
Okay.
Would that work? Can everybody see this again?
Yep.
Yeah, start with the water fund, scroll down to the water.
Hold on one.
We're on the key messages page.
All right, just give me a second. I have it, but I'm trying to make it bigger. So. All right, contact. Okay. Holly, if we could we go right to the water park budget spreadsheet, and I'll talk to these messages.
Okay.
All right. Can everyone see the screen now and see the spreadsheet?
Yes.
All right. Sorry about the technical delays. So let's start with the fiscal year 21 water park budget. As you're looking at the screen, just to refresh everyone's memory, you're looking at a number of years, fiscal year 17, 18, 19. For fiscal year 20, what you'll see is the first half of the year actuals, as well as the budget, and then the proposed budget for fiscal year 21. I think the easiest way to review this in summary form, I want to talk about it high level. So if we look at it big picture and you look under income and you see that first line item that says reserves allocation, that is, we are proposing about $109,000 in reserves. Those funds would come out of the water park reserves, or said differently, when building the budget, our expenses are about $109,000 higher than our revenue. When we think about that and what's driving it, Holly, can you just scroll up a little bit on the expenses? You see under the expense line, which is in the middle of the page, you've got two things that say salary and wages and wages. Those are the two biggest areas of change, if you will, over the prior year budget. that very first line item, salaries and wages, you compare that budget for fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 20, that's about 11.7% increase. And when you drill that down, what's driving that increase is minimum wages going up by about 9%. So when you take those things into consideration, as well as the next line item, you've got wages, admin, and maintenance support. That is the full-time employees plus a small percentage of a number of folks in terms of what percentage of their job they contribute towards the water park. That line item also includes a full-time marketing person. So when you're looking at the entire spreadsheet and looking at fiscal year 21, the three biggest changes are the first one's in income and reserve allocation by proposing to add $109,000, and then in those two expense line items, and that's what's driving it. Now, one thing that we're proposing, we can show it after we talk about the budget and the spreadsheet, is increasing the rates by the same percentage, with the exception of the rates for the Chesapeake Beach residents. So overall, we're able to see on the screen, which is really good, all the income and the expenses. And then, Holly, if you could just scroll down just a little bit, you'll see the capital expenditures at the bottom of the spreadsheet. And they're itemized in there for about $25,000. So that's a high level of what you're looking at the fiscal year 21 budget. I will turn it back to the mayor to see if we have any questions or comments from town council.
Yeah, thank you, Dale. And we usually like to go, page by page with these, but this budget is just a little more than a page, and you really gave a really good overview. So starting with Valerie, I'll take council questions if there are any on the entire budget.
Sure. For the water park rates. Dale, I understand the $108,000 for the resource allocation. How much do we actually have in water park resource at the moment?
$780,000.
Okay, $25,000 for capital connection seems a little light. Do you think there'll be, obviously we think that's everything that's needed, right? So we won't be coming
for
back.
For capital expenditures? Yeah, we reviewed it with Maryland, and we believe that's all we'll need for the upcoming fiscal year. But I would say, to your point, overall, $25,000 isn't a lot of money.
Yeah, it's pretty light. So I wouldn't be surprised if y'all come back and ask for more later in the year. I just wouldn't be surprised. And my final point is, you mentioned that the wages.
Yes.
That increase is due to to marketing, to a maintenance person, and then to a percentage of a number of folks that work. So we do percentages of people. When we get to utility fund, I'll ask the same question then. Are we applying a percentage of people like Jay's time or anyone else's time to the utility fund budgeting?
The answer to your question is yes, but we can talk about in the utility fund as well. We've got, for water parks specifically, we've got a small percentage of my salary, the town administrator, the accounting manager, and a public works employee that all spend a significant amount of time with the water park.
This is the first budget that I've gone through where COVID-19 has really been an issue. In any way, is there anything that we ought to be aware of that we should mitigate for COVID-19 in this budget?
Well, here's what I would say. I've given it a lot of thought. It's a challenging time, a little bit of we don't know what we don't know right now. But what's very interesting about the water park budget, there's a very high correlation between the expenses and the revenue. And even if you look at salary and wages, that very first line item, that's a huge part of our overall expenses. But that is all our seasonal employees. And if the park isn't open, we don't have any expenses out of that line item. Could it impact, I think your question is the overall revenue, or could it take, some impact to our funds this year? I think the answer is yes, but I think at the same time, in the cash flow analysis that I have done, we won't have to hit the reserves, at least at this time.
And I'm going to chime in, Dale, and try to help answer Valerie's question. Yes, Valerie, when we were, pulling this together, we were, COVID was here. And even though we have increased the daily admission for everybody except people who live in town, we were hesitant to go any higher on the daily admissions number because we figured we better be, prudent on that because we don't know what, when this thing is going to end, and we don't know what's going to happen when it does, and are people going to go hog wild and want to go to the water park every day of the week? We don't know. So we took a conservative approach in guesstimating the daily admissions. So that helps answer your question.
Yeah, that answered it quite well. I think that the best point made was the fact that the cost mirror the amount of time we're open, and so I think that makes this budget easier. So thank you. That's all the questions that I had.
Thank you. Charlie?
I was going to, I don't want to be a naysayer. I find it highly unlikely the water park will open on schedule, if at all. I don't know that it means we shouldn't. I guess really it doesn't mean anything in terms of what we should plan for, but I just wonder if there's proceeds from the water park that we consider in other places that we should be preparing not to have. I don't know. That's kind of my only thought.
For example?
Well, for example, if we have budgeted in here for if we hire, are we going to move forward hiring a bunch of the kids that are not going to end up with jobs, and what are we going to do in that situation? Or is that outside of our realm and really up to Maryland?
Well, I think, for one, right now, I think what our job is to do is to formulate and pass a water park budget. Obviously, because of COVID-19, everything is fluid. Decisions will have to be made. As we're sitting here in the middle of May, and there's no, 5 weeks and nothing looks good, we're going to have to make some decisions at that time. But I think it's too early to address that right now. Right now, we have the business at hand.
Okay. Fair enough.
Larry?
I share the concern previously shared, but just a couple of curiosity questions more than anything. I was looking at this. I was curious, under the income on rentals pavilions, it shows a fairly significant decrease the last 2 years over what I guess not in the actuals. Disregard that. Never mind.
Okay.
And the one I had was cost of goods sold. Seems to be going up dramatically from what it was in 18 and 19. Any reasons?
Yeah, Larry, what we did, and it was, I think last year was the first year we combined a couple line items in there. One was retail sales, and by combining those two line items, it made the overall cost look like they're going up, but it used to be two separate line items.
That's fine. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Greg?
I don't think I have any questions about this particular budget. Just a sidebar, though, with the gambling places being shut down, the amusement tax is going to take a hit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Keith?
Yeah, thank you. So, Dale, I appreciate your summary of this and putting this together. I think an excellent job. My biggest concern was already mentioned, which was COVID-19 and how that could affect the budget. Just to follow up on Charlie, in terms of hiring, that full-time marketing person, I mean, if things do not improve, you know, that would be one of those areas. It's like, is that person going to be hired still this fiscal year, I suppose I should ask. But that's, again, a question for, I guess, you and Marilyn going forward.
And Keith, just a clarification, they're currently a part-time employee. What the proposed plan would be was to bring them on full-time July 1st. It's something that hasn't been done as of yet.
Okay, thank you.
Derek?
That's all I have, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I had engaged Dale offline and asked him about the same question that was asked by Valerie and others about the delayed opening and what the expectation would be, not only with our current budget, but with if it extends into July with this one, and he provided the same answer that he provided here. So I thank him for that, and thank Valerie for asking the question initially, and that's all I have.
Okay. I think that's it for this budget. Let's move on to the next one, which is the utility fund. Dale, you want to give us your overview?
Yes. Holly, are you able to bring that up? You want me to try again, try to share screen?
You want to do the overview page?
That's good. Let's do the spreadsheet. So, again, if I could, let me just take a minute and give a high-level overview of the utility fund. We're going to start just with revenue, and I want to hit a couple of key areas. And if you're looking at it on the screen, if you see the line that's highlighted where it says reserves from U.S. savings, the proposed budget is $1.359 million. That number is built based on us paying off the 2010 bond. Holly, if you could, for a second, if you could just scroll to the bottom with expenses, and we're going to talk about expenses, but I just want town council to be able to see this. So when you look at the bottom and you see the principals, all those different principals, those are our outstanding loans. You see the 2010 bond, it's about 4 lines down with that high interest rate. And if you go all the way to the right, that's the payoff amount for that 2010 bond, $1,257,800. Right now, it's set up with the state that if town council approves, we'll be paying that off between July 1st and July 15th. But Holly, I'm sorry, but if we could get back up to revenue, I just wanted town council to see that, because one of the questions may be, when you look at revenue, why is that reserve number a little bit higher than that 1257 numbers? Or said differently, why is the 1359 higher than the 1257? And it's because we have about $100,000 more built in expenses, and I'll talk about that expense specifically when we get to it. But if we could just hit some of the highlights first with the revenue. The one line item right above the one that's highlighted in yellow is we have the budget set up for fiscal year 21 that add the $500,000 again from general fund savings to our utility fund savings and continue to build so that down the road, if it was the desire of town council to pay off other long-term obligations, we would have those funds and continue to build them. Then if you look as a guide, the line that's highlighted in yellow, skip the fixed fee, but the next 3 line items, infrastructure, sewer capital, water capital, those are all tied to the heritage. That revenue ties into 18 lots, and we recently made a change on that based on the heritage sharing with us probably about 2 weeks ago that they're telling the town by the end of fiscal year 21, they'll have 36 lots done, and the town will have the revenue associated with it. So we currently have half of that, or 50% of that estimate from the heritage, if you will, built in our fiscal year 21 plan. Those are the 3 items I wanted to point out specifically in revenue. I think, Mr. Mayor, if we could, I'll stop right now and see if there's any questions or comments from town council.
Yeah, what I want to do is basically, we'll go two-part here. We'll start with revenue, and then we'll go with the expenses. Beginning with Derek, we'll we'll field council questions.
No, I don't have any questions on the revenue section.
Okay. Keith?
No question.
Greg?
No question.
Larry?
Questions I have, Dale already answered. Thank you.
Okay. Charlie?
No, I have no questions right now.
Yeah, you did a great job. Valerie?
Thank you.
Needless to say, I'm absolutely thrilled about the bond payoff. So good job.
Okay,
No
now
questions.
thank you. Now let's go to the next part, which is the
Expenses.
expense, right?
Sure.
Once again, starting with Derek.
The one, Mr. Mayor, if I could, just one comment about the expenses. If the town council looks at it, and Holly, if you can just scroll up a little bit, the one big change when you're comparing fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 19 in the expenses is, can you go up just a little bit? It must be on the other page. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay,
No,
right there. If you could stop right there.
No, go back up. I think you're looking for the second item in that list.
You got it. You got it. I just wanted to point that out because when you're looking at that second item, you'll see it's gone up by $420,000 when you compare fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 20. And the reason for that is we have built in, based on the estimate we have received, to paint the water tower. But that is when you're looking at all the expenses for fiscal year 21 compared to 20, that is the big change. Everything else you'll notice is very similar. So any questions or comments about the expenses?
And before we start with Derek, that'll be the remainder of the budget, Derek, the expenses and the debt service portion. Let's handle it all.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, I really don't have questions per se. I guess the question at hand, I mean, this is, I recall 5+ years ago, I think Valerie was a big proponent of it, of painting that water tower in Ridgefield Station. So here we are 4 or 5 years later, and it's in our budget in full. So this is something that the town hadn't saved for, in the past. But we have it here, which is fine. We've got the money in reserves, and we had decided 3 budgets ago that we would exclusively use or try to use capital connection fees for infrastructure, and that's really what this is. So I'm pleased to see that even though they're anticipated, I'm pleased to see that we have infrastructure fees or infrastructure revenue to pay for the cost of the tower, repainting of the tower. So I guess my question to Jay would be, do we really need to do that this year, or can it wait another year? I think that's the question at hand. Do we have Jay on still?
Jay, are you on?
I just unmuted myself. You are correct, Derek. So we have painted the inside, if you will, of the tower just prior to the State Highway Bridge project. And we wanted to move forward at that time painting the outside with the same contractor. But due to the isolation of that tower from our other 2 towers, we had to postpone it until the bridge was complete, and obviously that got delayed. So we're now, as you said, about 5 years behind really in painting this tower. And as it goes on, I anticipate the costs will go up because the paint is failing in a lot of places. So we're trying to expedite it getting painted.
Very good.
Okay, that makes sense. And so the only other question I have is more of a aesthetics question. The cost that we're projecting, is it just a simple, I say simple, but just repainting, same color, same same look. And the reason I ask, and I've mentioned this to a couple of you 1 or 2 years ago, but the new water tower is down by the hospital, and they've got the logo of the hospital on the tower. I really like that. I don't know what the cost would be, but I would think if we had an opportunity to put our Chesapeake Beach symbol up on the water tower, I think there would be a lot of pride, community pride in that. I'm not sure what others think about that, but if that's something that we could consider, I don't know what the cost would be to design and put it on, to paint that on, but if that's something that we consider, I would like to have that conversation.
Correct. So we're working now with the new town engineer. We've got old budgetary numbers. We're having a company come out and do another survey. Hopefully they'll complete it by the end of this week. I'll sit down with Wayne Newton, the town engineer for now, finalize all that. All of these logos and different things, just about every company does that now, and they're pretty generic off-the-shelf pricing, so that can be explored. The first thing we need to do is get some real numbers for this estimate so we can put out an RFP.
So then I guess the question is, are we pretty comfortable with the $420K at this point?
We are. I'll be honest, I think it might be a little bit high, but I don't want to knock that number down until I get some science back and have at least 2 other people look at it and come back with some budgetary numbers, which that's how we got to the 420. And when we put the RFP, I believe it will not exceed that for sure.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Thanks. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Keith?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Once again, thank you, Dale, for putting this together, and of course, all the staff. You explained it very well, and I don't have any additional questions.
Very good.
Thank you.
Mr. Morris?
Yeah. I agree with Derek. It would be nice to put an extra spot per se on that water tower, the symbol or the graphic for the town, or something simple. It might be nice, just as an add-on to a quality exterior paint job. And I don't have any other questions regarding this regarding the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Larry?
Mr. Fabre had raised all the questions I had. Nothing further.
Okay. Charlie?
No, I have no additional questions, thanks to Dale. I am also think it'd be a neat idea to do something with the logoing, and I'd love to, if the opportunity presents itself, to talk further about that with some of the committees that have looked at town branding, so to speak, because that's, I think, a neat opportunity, but that's probably a conversation for a later day.
Yeah, thank you. Valerie?
I'll echo what Derek said. It's really nice that we're at the point where we can actually pay for infrastructure improvements like the painting of the water tower within the utility fund budget. That's wonderful. I think the payoff of bonds is working out quite well, seeing the savings that we're getting. And I do wonder a little about the effects for this year on COVID-19 on our water and sewer.
I think you're fading out again, Valerie.
I said I do worry a little bit about COVID-19, but that's more for this budget that we're currently in, because obviously Beach Elementary is closed, so we're not getting those funds. We're not getting the funds as much from some of our larger businesses, and so I wonder how our expenses and our revenues are going to reflect that this year. And I suspect that by the time this budget takes effect, this budget will be just fine. But again, I'd like to echo Derek's comment about being able to pay for the water tower painting out of the proper fund. It's a wonderful thing to be at that point. And that's all I have.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you, Dale.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Larry,
sir.
one quick follow-up. One quick follow-up.
Shoot.
Appendix A on the water, the fee and rate schedule. What I noticed here is there's absolutely no change proposed.
Tell you what, hold on a second, Larry.
Yeah.
Somebody's got something going on there. Okay, go ahead, Larry.
Appendix A, fee and rate schedule. There's no changes proposed there
Hold on a second, Larry. Someone's got something going on with their phone there.
Disconnect this thing. That's me. Give me a minute.
All right, well, put it on, lower the volume or something. Go ahead, Larry.
Okay. Appendix A, there's no changes listed here from the current rate. I just wanted to confirm that. Second is based on our earlier discussion on on rental inspection fees. Do we need to add anything to this appendix for rental inspections?
So rental inspection fees, we would not add that here. That would go under the schedule of fees in the general fund.
General fund.
So we can take a look at that and look at that against the code as well to make sure we can add additional fees. The only thing that has changed is this notation here at the bottom, which would allow the town to capture an escrow fee. So
yeah,
correct.
okay,
There's
that's
no
fine.
changes in fees.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Once again, thank you, Dale.
You're welcome.
I think you did a great job. I'll go to the council lightning round. I'll begin with Valerie.
Yes, I just had one point that I thought I'd bring up, and it's have we thought about, or should we think about a grace period for the utility bill paying for the January through March bill period for those that might be affected by COVID-19 if they lost their job or furloughed? It's just a thought.
Yeah, well, we'll be very kind if we get any requests from people that can't pay their bill.
That's a perfect answer. Just if broached with the problem, yeah, I know we have some kindness towards that.
Yes.
Other than that, I just hope that everyone stays safe and well throughout this period, and complete your census, please, because I'm working at least 60 hours a week on census stuff. So complete your census.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Charlie?
I want to, I'm sure everyone will offer this, but I just want to thank again you guys, the extra effort that's required to do the different things you guys have been doing. I have a lot of respect for the decision to close the boardwalk. I know North Beach has done the same thing. I appreciate having a conversation about it. I respect the need to do it. I would also ask that as the opportunity permits, we look at how we might be able to amend it to allow some use of these facilities by town residents, but limit things like loitering or large gatherings. I'd love to have that conversation as soon as it's appropriate, and certainly not a moment sooner. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Larry?
Several things. One is I just wanted to express my thanks to Holly and the mayor for the posting that was done on my climate change thing. I wanted to clarify some information. I had submitted that the climate change professional program is administered and issued by the Association of Climate Change Officers. The training was provided by the Maryland Climate Leadership Academy, which is a state of Maryland program that's conducted in a partnership with ACO. So that one. Second thing, I participate in economic development, participated in several conference calls and shared some with some of you. Conference calls and Zoom meetings with staff from the County Department of Economic Development, including a call with Senators Ben Cardin and Chris Van Hollen. There's information available, this is sort of for the record, information available on the town website for people to go to and under the COVID-19 click site there. And also you can go to the county site at www.calvertcountymd.gov/coronavirus. So if you are a local business and you need some help, either as a small business, a self-employed, or a nonprofit, information and assistance available to you. Finally, I participated in a call the other day on the library planning. There will be a Zoom meeting coming up it's scheduled for April 22nd. two time frames, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. As I get more information on that, I will pass it along to Holly and ask that it be posted for general input into the library planning. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry, and thanks for your help, during this, and I wish you luck one day when you do actually retire. Mr. Morris?
Yeah. For any of the general public that's watching this, or watch this recorded or live, next 2 weeks critical as far as the COVID-19 is concerned. Do your best to not go anywhere that's not essential. I don't want my kids going through the drive-through. We've been staying home. We haven't had anybody over. Stay away from groups of people. Parents, please patrol your children. Let's try to stay remote for this next 2 weeks. It's really important for all of us. There are some groups that are getting really creative with some of the social apps that are out there. They're having parties online, remotely, and drinking, and they're exploring that. I was pleased to hear some of that. But please follow instructions and don't go anywhere that you don't absolutely got to go, please. And good luck, everybody. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And Keith?
Hey, thank you, Mayor. So I just wanted to be sure folks knew about that Calhoun County Public Schools have expanded their meal nutrition program for kids. There's now a distribution site here in the northern part of the county at Windy Hill Middle School. It's food is available there, meals, I should say, Mondays and Wednesdays, 11 a.m. to 12 noon. And you can get 2 days worth of meals, 2 lunches, 2 breakfasts at that. And it's open for any kids. You don't have to be a student there. You do have to bring your child along to show that you do have children when you go. So hopefully that'll be more convenient to folks than having to go to the southern part of the county. And thank you, Mayor, for your help with that. And
You're welcome.
Also, congratulations on a successful video work session.
Thank you, sir. And lastly, Derek.
All right, thank you. So thanks to Dale and Holly and all the department heads on the budgets. We did all 5 of them again, and much of the heavy lifting you guys did was in balancing a lot of other issues. Of course, we're all familiar with. So great job on that. And also, I want to echo what Charlie said very well. At least in my corner of town, I see that our folks are generally abiding by the guidelines that are put in place and staying home. But we do have a lot of folks who want to get out and walk, and we're kind of limited where we are to do that. So I appreciate the opportunity to have those discussions on boardwalks and paths, especially ones that serve more as a sidewalk rather than a place to congregate. So I do appreciate that, and like I said, when it's appropriate, to have those discussions to ease some of these back, I look forward to that as well. But for right now, I fully support all the decisions that have been made, and just want everyone to just stay safe, and we'll get through this and come out stronger on the other side.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Good night, everybody. Be safe.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good job.
Take care.